So welcome back, guys, to another episode of Play and Tell. I'm your host, Xander Skullion, and this is a series where I like to talk about games I've been playing recently, leave little short impressions, mini reviews, and most importantly, when you walk away, you have something new to play. But folks, before I start talking about the games I've been playing, what have you been playing? I feel like 2024 is already becoming a jam-packed year already, and I love hearing some of your recommendations. And speaking of recommendations, big shout to the happy console gamer, Johnny Millennium. He covered this game a couple months ago and I knew I had to play it, and that is World of Horror. Nowadays, the indie gaming scene seems to be saturated with roguelike releases. However, World of Horror stands out from the crowd. This roguelike RPG takes inspiration from the early 80s adventure games, leaning heavily towards text-based gameplay. While this retro approach may seem dated, World of Horror offers a complex and captivating experience for those willing to dive into the depths. Each playthrough you'll tackle 5 separate mysteries, navigating through them much like a survival horror game. Each mystery lasts around 10 minutes and it involves various locations and encountering random events. With each prompt you make these choices that rely on specific skills or perks that have an outcome by your stats, which is very reminiscent of a tabletop RPG. The game really excels in creating meaningful choices and a sense of tension where every decision carries weight and consequences. Your initial attempts are likely to end in failure, but with each playthrough you gain knowledge and unlock achievements that provide a permanent benefit, enhancing your chances of success over time. With numerous mysteries and multiple endings for each, World of Horror offers very high replay value. This is a super interesting game. It was made by one guy using MS Paint, and it really captures that Japanese horror aesthetics. I absolutely love the soundtrack, and yes, this is definitely a game you want to play on Halloween, but also is a great game to live stream. I was live streaming this game. It almost felt like an interactive ghost story because I had my viewers, help make decisions. It was a lot of fun. I think the only caveat to World of Horror is the UI. It's a little bit of a learning curve, and the fact that it is, very much based around an old point-and-click game, using a controller can be a little cumbersome. I would actually recommend it on Steam because you can use a mouse. But if you're a Switch collector, I feel like this is going to be a unique game to add to your collection. Not to mention, Fangamer, the folks who published this game, add a bunch of little swag and a little bit of extra oomph to supporting physical media, because let's face it, physical media rocks. Now, the next game I want to talk about was actually a blind buy. I was perusing through the PlayStation store, and I saw this game called Slave Zero X. I watched the trailer, and I'm like, man, this looks like it's right up my alley. And can I just say, first and foremost, I love the fact that we're getting indie games now that celebrate, the 5th generation of gaming, like the PlayStation 1 games, because Slave Zero X has that aesthetic, that 2D, hand-drawn sprite with 3D rendered backgrounds. I absolutely love that graphic style. And a little fact, this is actually a prequel to a Dreamcast/PC game released in '99 called Slave Zero, which surprisingly is a third-person mech shooter, which is very different from Slave Zero X. You play as this guy named Shu, who is, infused with the symbiote alien suit. He's now a guardian, and he's trying to take down this American empire. I'll be honest, the story didn't really grab me. I don't really play these kind of games for the story. It's all about the gameplay, which I have to get into the fact that when I first started the game, it didn't work. It crashed. I was like, it's already not a good sign. It's fun. It's fun. That's all I can say. I wasn't really taken too far into the gameplay. I felt like, it is a hack and slash. It has a very elaborate control scheme with like parrying. I almost felt like I was playing the Neo Geo Fighter in certain parts of the game. But I mean, I'll be honest, for $24.99, I felt like I paid a little too much. This is a game that I would recommend, but I would recommend on a sale. Now, I just recently finished a game that was my most anticipated game of 2024. If you guys watched the last episode, you guys know I played the demo. I was really looking forward to it, and that is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. The storyline revolves around Ichiban Kasuga, the central character from Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Kiru Kazuma, the original protagonist of the series. set in Hawaii, marking the franchise debut in overseas locale. Aside from familiar Japanese setting, the game follows Kiryu Kazuma and Ichiban Kasuga as they unite forces with both old and new allies. Their objective is twofold: aiding Kasuga in locating and reuniting with his mother in Hawaii, while Kiryu Kazuma grapples with the challenges of battling cancer. And if you've played the Yakuza games, you know the story. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but it gets pretty crazy. The battle system returns to the turn-based RPG that we saw with 2020's Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I really enjoyed this gameplay. Known as the Live Command RPG battle system, each character has a movement ring, allowing for free movement during battles, making positioning critical for success. Character skills are clear, showing their range and direction, enhancing a strategic placement. A new resource, the height meter, enables a team-up attack with Kasuga having a powerful ultimate tag team skill. There's a smackdown mode for skipping easier battles, and the Poundmate summon system returns to aid in combat. And of course, the job system is back, enhancing each character's unique abilities and styles, and familiar jobs do return along with new ones like Aquanaut and Pyro Dancer. Kiryu's Dragon of Dojima job lets him switch fighting styles and engage in real-time combat. I feel like this is a turn-based RPG for folks that normally don't play turn-based RPGs. If you feel like turn-based RPGs are kind of boring and static, this is a game to check out because it has that action-packed gameplay that you would expect from a brawler with a turn-based aspect. And you know, this game takes place in Hawaii, which is the first time I believe the Like a Dragon or Yakuza series ventured off into the West with, you know, some American influence. And I was kind of nervous about it at first, but it felt so great. I mean, the map is ginormous. It's probably the biggest map in the game. And I honestly, I would like riding my Segway and listening to this like lighthearted Hawaii Sega podcast, which I don't want to spoil too much, but listen to the podcast because there's an awesome Shenmue Easter egg reference. A plethora of minigames from previous titles reappear, including karaoke, darts, mahjong, along some arcade classics like Virtual Fighter 3 TB and Sega Bass Fishing. Infinite Wealth also introduces some new minigames like Crazy Delivery, a callback to the Crazy Taxi series with a little bit of Uber Eats thrown in there, and Saijumon, which is kind of like their call towards Pokemon, offering a diverse gameplay experience. Notably, the game also features Dondoko Island, a callback to Animal Crossing, a significant side activity where Kasuga manages his own resort island, engaging in resource management and social interactions. Kiryu's side activities include the bucket list, focusing on his past and reconnecting with old acquaintances from previous Like a Dragon titles. And you know, video games are a lot more expensive now, and I can honestly say I feel like I got my money's worth with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth because there is so much content to this game. There's so much strategy with the fighting system. The story is fantastic. I feel like this is a great new direction for Like a Dragon, and you know, I love the series so much. I was getting a little bit of series fatigue. I mentioned that a couple of videos ago, but I feel like this was the breath of fresh air the series needed.
Feeling wet now?
It's crazy to think 4 years ago we got Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I'll go on the record and say I never thought Square Enix would remake Final Fantasy VII. I thought it was too big of a ballsy move, and you know, rightfully so. There are some divisive fans with the series, but I liked it. I liked Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I was really looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the PlayStation 5. Of course, I don't want to spoil the story. I'm on Chapter 7 right now. I'm halfway done with the game, but If you're a Final Fantasy VII purist and you're like, I know what's going to happen, no, you don't. This game almost takes place in a separate universe, a separate timeline, and it makes things interesting, in my opinion, and what makes me really like remakes. I feel like if, Final Fantasy VII, a remake or a rebirth, I feel like if it was just a graphical upgrade, it would be kind of boring because there's so many new things to enjoy with the familiar aspects of Final Fantasy VII. I think that's a great combo. But yes, this is a continuation of Final Fantasy VII Remake, essentially the second disc from the OG 3-disc collection. And the battle system is super interesting because it's not exactly a turn-based RPG, but it's not exactly an action RPG either. I did notice that you can add, certain shortcut combos, so you can play this game almost like you would play Final Fantasy 16, very hack and slash, action-packed, but I've been playing it kind of like a turn-based where I can actually slow down time and select my spells, my items, my different kind of customizations towards the battle, and that gives it more of a turn-based feel. I think it's a great hybrid, honestly. I would say the gameplay is a hybrid of a turn-based RPG meets action. And like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, there's a lot of content to this game. I feel like everything that I was kind of on the fence with Final Fantasy VII Remake, they upped the ante with Rebirth, and they just added so much more. To be honest, the first couple of hours, I was kind of overwhelmed because it was so much from, the Queen's Blood card game to, your materia system to your skill tree and building relationships with your party members. It was a lot to take in at first, and the graphics, oh my gosh. Seeing the world map, and granted, I've played a lot of open world games since the original Final Fantasy VII, but seeing the Final Fantasy VII world in that open aspect, I paused for a second. I just had to take it all in and hearing that familiar music. But how have you been enjoying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Don't spoil anything. But I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and opinions with a comment below. But anyway, guys, those are some games I've been playing, and what games are you looking forward to? I like to end this show talking about games I'm going to be playing in the future. One game that I'm definitely looking forward to playing is Princess Peach Showtime. I played the demo. It had some frame rate issues, but it was super charming. I definitely want to check that out, and I was having a lot of fun with the new Contra, the new demo for that. I was playing that and live streaming it. And speaking of live streams, if you're new to the channel, be sure to not only subscribe, but hit your bell for notifications, because I live stream once a week on this channel, Game Night with Xander Skullion, and a lot of these games that eventually turn into episodes of Play and Tell, you'll be able to see in real time on the live stream. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.